Hi, welcome to the coaching game. And look who I have back. And it's not even a whole month from now. I'm so thrilled. Terry Yoffe.
Terry Yoffe and Coaches Creating Change. Here we are, yet
Here
another
we
month.
are. Yes. And if you hear like a little heartbeat in the background, that's really not Terry. It is some work they're doing on her building. But we decided we're going to talk through it and just ignore it. So we hope you can
We're
do
going
the
to
same thing.
try, and there's a little background music, a little drum
There
roll.
you go.
So here we go.
Hopefully they'll have a little rhythm and a beat going before this is all over, and we'll have a cool show. Well, we were talking about, because normally we'd be waiting, another month to do this show, but we were talking about some things that just keep coming up, and it's like, well, let's have a show about that and do it early. And we decided it was like biases and how do you keep yourself out of the coaching game? And not this one, but the coaching game that you're playing. And what do you do with your biases? What do you do with them while you're coaching? So we thought that might be an interesting show. So we're just going to kind of see what some of the things that popped up for us are. Terry, what came to your mind when we were talking about this?
It's a very, I don't know the word to use, relevant topic.
Yes.
Very relevant. Everywhere you go, everyone you talk to, it seems to be on everyone's mind. So one of the things I thought about was I volunteer at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And with COVID, I have not been able to go back. I'm hoping to go back in January. They had us do a training on workplace etiquette. And I had to do that online. And what to say, what not to say. It was done in snippets of scenarios, and then you had to, offer up thoughts on it. And now they're going to be doing a racism training, unbiased racism training for each of the volunteers in November, so that unless you pass it, you can't go back. So I think every institution, every company is very much involved with diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Well, Terry and I are involved as we speak in ICF Converge 2021, which is a conference that they're having all around the world. And certainly many of the topics that we get to choose from include diversity, inclusion, and ethnicity. And you're right, it is a hot topic. And it just keeps popping up, whether you want it to or not. I personally want it to. I want to keep learning as much as I can. But have you had any? And I love that the Metropolitan Museum is doing that, because not only are you in New York City, probably the most diverse place, but people come from all over the world. So how do you respect cultures and enforce rules and all of that? So I can't wait to hear what your next session is going to be like. That should be interesting to say that. But do you have any situations where you were kind of like, what do I do? How should I handle this? Or have your clients haven't had any of that?
Yes and yes. When you volunteer at the Met, I'll just do that for a minute, you get to see, I sat behind the desk, and as a volunteer, I helped people. If they came up with questions, where do I go, what exhibits to see. What I noticed that certain cultures, and I'm not going to go into which ones they were much more respectful of those people that were talking to me. If there was a line, people would come, or, and I was talking and trying to explain, invariably there were people that came up to me to try to cut the line and say, oh, can I ask a question? Can I do this? And, you know, I had to say, excuse me, but can you wait your turn? I'm working with someone right now, but doing it delicately
Mhm.
without offending
Right.
people. You get to see certainly crossroads of different cultures and how they behave in an institution. So that's one scenario. I have had a client that I have worked with who is African American, and I've had diverse clients, but this particular woman worked in a company and wanted the position of being in charge of DEI,
Mm.
and what she had to go through to get that position, and what it took and how we navigated that, because they were reluctant to give it to her. And they had all kinds of excuses as to why she couldn't take it and whatever. She did get it. It didn't turn out to be the best situation for her. However, I got to see the navigation and the resistance, even though people put one toe in the water, saying, yes, we're very much engaged with this and involved with this, but somewhere then they don't put both feet in.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think we talked about, it's like everything else, everything's in disruption, and I don't believe people know how to handle some of this. It's new. Not that this shouldn't have been upfront and handled many, many moons ago. So everyone is scrambling to figure it out.
Absolutely. And you have to give credit to those who are trying, because this wasn't the case like 20 years ago. It was like you had a side and you were on it, but now people at least are trying. That's interesting. I have so many instances.
Yeah, let's hear.
Yeah, I think one is, I'm going to say one is we don't know what we don't know. And I'll use a personal example for that. I've told this story a couple of times because I'm just amazed. My significant other is Black. He's been Black ever since I knew him. So, and that's been at least 10 years. And a rational, sane man, except he has this one boogaboo. And whenever he would go shopping, he would come home enraged because the clerk would ask him, do you want a bag? And it just, he goes, of course I want a bag. I just spent $40. What do you know? And I would do things like say, well, you know, people are environmentally conscious. Some people bring their own bags. And there was no talking to him. He was just outraged. And so I finally put it aside and I said, okay, he's got a thing for plastic bags. I don't know what it is, but I'll accept that and I won't bother him. And then one night we were watching Roy Wood Jr., who is a Black comedian. And he was talking about being in Best Buy and the woman asking him if he wants a bag. And he said, hell yes, I want a bag. I want a bag with the receipt stapled on the outside, just like a McDonald's takeout. He goes, I'm a Black man in America. If I leave that store without a bag, I could get shot. And I looked at my significant other and I said, is that what you've been talking about? And he said, of course. What do you think I've been talking about? I said, I thought you were crazy. And I'm supposed to be woke, you know, I'm woke, I'm cool. I had no idea because it's not within my reality. So I think we have to keep expanding our realities and accept when other people tell us something's going on here, because we might not see it, and especially you and I as white females, we're not going to see it. But it's just, and I'm still baffled that I never figured that out, you know, and I just didn't know. Now I know, but
Wow. I mean, I go to the grocery store and they say, would you like a bag?
Who cares? No, I bring my own.
Right. And that's what they're trying to say.
Exactly. But as
Bag.
if you grow up being a Black man in jeopardy, you want a bag. You want people to know, no, I didn't steal this. This is mine.
That's
Not in our reality. Just not. So that's one thing. So it's like, yes, I think people are trying, and I think you just have to realize there's a lot of stuff that isn't within your reality. So expand your reality. But that was a life lesson that I don't think I'll ever forget. And it was just why he never said it, I guess, because it's just common nature to him, but not me. So that was my personal experience. Yeah.
that's such a eye opener experience because everybody gets asked, whatever color you are,
Exactly.
would you like a bag? Because nowadays, most people bring their own.
And I think in New York City, you have to pay for them if you don't have it, right? So they want to know, can I charge you for the bag I'm going to give
Right,
you?
exactly, exactly. So something so harmless to you and I
Yeah,
has rippling repercussions for others.
exactly. And it's all a cultural thing, things that we're not aware of. So he and I agreed that our goal is to educate each other through our cultures. It's like, well, this is why I said that. And he's going to go, well, this is why I took offense. And we're just going to educate each other. That's the beauty of an interracial couple, I guess. You do get to learn some stuff, but and you're right. People are opening up and becoming more aware and wanting to learn more if they can. So good for the Met, good for you, good for me.
And companies, I think, because I read a lot of the LinkedIn uh, things, I don't know, I can't think of the word, posts exactly
Yeah.
that people put up. And there's a lot with, you know, racial that, oh, first Black woman to be handed CEO of. Well, you know, instead of saying Jane Doe, one of the best leaders, is now being, you know, CEO of whatever. It's they put in, you don't hear a post going, Jane Doe, first white woman, you know, to be a white male, to be named. It's whenever they're giving a person of color a role, a big role, they make sure that everyone knows. And you know, it's I don't, it's not being done in a way intentionally to
Right.
recruit people. It's clumsy. I think today everyone is trying, not everyone, but trying to be unbiased. I mean, look, the truth is we all have biases. We do. It's just a fact.
Of course.
Somebody say, I have none. You know, we all,
And you know you got a problem, yeah.
all do. It's a question of how we deal with them. You know, both my parents worked. So I had housekeepers who were there to take care of us. And they were African American. You know, back then we had other names, which were not the coolest. However, it was a time and a place and we didn't know any better. Maybe, you know, it just was what it was. And here we are today, all trying to figure out how to incorporate this whole unbiased, biased sentiment into our lives. And you know, I've had clients that were African American, Latino, and they all had their trials and tribulations in their corner of the world of what they did.
Yeah, it comes with the territory. And I think the cool thing is you said we don't know what we we don't know. We don't know. But the fact that there are so many people now willing to learn, I think that's a good sign of mankind getting back on track, hopefully. I'd love to get your take on this because I've never resolved this. I had an incident, and I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was cultural. I really don't know if it was cultural or gender. I don't know what it was. I was helping a school do some coach training. I was not the lead trainer. I was the assistant trainer. And we broke everybody up, as they do in coach training, and you get to train someone. And there was a very gentle, I'm going to say man from India, because he was, and a young white lady, and they were paired together. And I don't even remember what they were coaching on, but afterwards, when they were doing, feedback and debrief and everything, the young white lady raised her hand and she goes, "I just wasn't able to coach him because some of the things he said were just so against what I believe in. What should I do?" And unfortunately, the trainer said, "Well, we're going to deal with that tomorrow." They never did. And I'm going, what should they do? I'd love to get your take on this. I know I take it so far, and then it's like, I don't know what that, but I do think she was wrong to call it out in the middle of the group. I think that was just a destruction of confidentiality, but I don't know where to go from there. What is your feeling on that?
Did she ever say what it was she couldn't coach him on?
Thank heavens, no. I suspect it was probably a gender issue. It sounded like it was like something that he had said about women, maybe in his country, or just women's roles, but I don't know. That's just me speculating.
So, as a coach, you can't take anything personally.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it would have been great to understand what was he talking about? What was the issue? And yes, cultures in Muslim countries, in India, maybe in China, they have different scripts for women and men. I'm guessing, I'm not set, not everybody. So I don't want to come across as I'm being very narrow-minded, but it's a fact. And if you're going to coach someone of a different culture, I've done that. I've coached Europeans, I've coached Latinas, and clearly there was a big difference in the Latino community. It was a woman I coached. I think it's important to understand what drives this person. What's going on that he or she is coming up with, how they live their lives.
And what button is it pushing for you? I think that's interesting, right?
The thing is, as a coach, we try not to have our buttons pushed.
It's so hard, but we do.
Well, we have to sit back. There are several things. Sit back and not make it about us, because it's not, clearly.
Right.
It's not. I've had clients where they've cried on topics. I was sitting there sobbing because it hit home.
Right.
I say, excuse me. No, not my coaching, not me. Self-manage, that's key. So you either self-manage and put your own thoughts aside, and then at the end, you can look at yours and say, gee, what chord did it hit for me? Or alternatively, and I'm not even sure of this, you can say to a client, I want to stop here, and I want you to know that this is what's coming up for me. And be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible, if we can do that, but if it's really interfering with the coaching, you can stop it and say, and tell the truth.
Yeah.
and then maybe get it out and say, so perhaps you can help me understand what you mean by.
Oh, I like that, asking for clarification and without judgment, just like this isn't familiar to me. What are we talking about?
Right.
And then I think also we certainly have the right to go, you know what? I'm starting to think I'm probably not going to be the best coach for you. And just, either refer them out or terminate the relationship.
Well, what would it take for that person not to be the best client for a coach?
Theoretically, I mean, you and I had this conversation during the last year or the last couple of years. It's like, do we coach people that we're politically opposed to? Does that have anything to do with the coaching? We're all humans. So we have to set all that aside. Is that the truth? I can see, women have their own problems also. We're certainly neglected in certain areas and had to fight all the way, and we're still fighting. So I can see where you'd want to bring that to the forefront, but I'm not sure you want to do that in a coaching session. Like you said, the session is not about you, it's about your client.
Right. So, if somebody is so politically, I never ask anyone their political viewpoints.
No, even my friends, I don't want to know.
If it comes up and it's really relevant, then to be discussed. But if somebody's going on and on and on, to stop someone and say, how is this relevant to where you want to go? And maybe understand, because there may be some really good stuff under this top stuff.
Right.
So, I wonder also, I think it's a personal choice. To me, if somebody clearly, I've had that happen, I think once or twice, where clearly the person was out to get me, was going to do something harmful to my reputation.
Really? Wow.
Or somebody clearly isn't really wanting to be coached.
I've had that happen. Yeah.
Those are times when you can say, you know what? And this isn't right.
Yeah.
If somebody's biased, I mean, how biased can a male be if they're coming to you, a female, for coaching?
True.
So, and maybe this is something they want to work through.
What? But it could be that they want to manipulate you and they feel that females are the weaker sex. So it could be a learning experience for him and you. Yeah, you're right. Just what's underneath all that. Yeah.
So it really comes up to self-manage, which is one of the definite, core competencies of managing yourself.
Yeah.
And stepping back. And, when the call's over, then kind of debrief yourself and unpack, what did this do to me? Because clearly it's my issue, not theirs. Not their issue.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. It's like, okay, if your button has been pushed or you're feeling a reaction, it's like, and it's almost impossible, I think, to coach someone and not coach yourself at the same time. It's like either, oh, I do that, or, oh, I'd never do that. And then, at the end of the session, when the client is gone, it's a great time to debrief yourself and go, wow, what was that all about? Or did I help because I was so much in agreement with her opinion or his opinion? And so you have to be careful on both of those. I'm thinking, how many coaching sessions do you think have been going on about vaccine? Do I get it or don't I? And I mean, if you're a vaxxer, then you're going, do you want to coach someone who doesn't want it? But it's not about you. It's really managing yourself. And back to my scenario, I think the young lady should have managed herself and brought this up on a personal level, one-on-one with the trainer, not throwing this guy to the wolves in front of the whole class, because we all left going, wow, what happened, but you're not going to ask. So
She, whatever her reason was, she didn't think it through.
no.
When I find coaching someone, nobody has said to me, I got my back. See, if they bring it up and they mention it, okay. If somebody says they haven't, and it's not, unless they want to dig into it, maybe that is something to talk about. What is it about it? And what does this represent for you? What else haven't you done
right
in your life that might have been good for you, but you backed out of it? So sometimes if we listen, there could be a nugget or a thread to grab onto, and I don't get many clients that we get into the bias, the unbiased, except for particularly 1 or 2 or 3 I've had throughout my coaching.
Yeah.
So, but it is a hot button for sure. And I do think that it's very much out there. And every conference I've attended, you have, it's always a topic to look at.
It more so now, after George Floyd, for sure. I mean, the whole world became aware. It's like, oh, we got to do some work here. But yeah, and suddenly everybody's scrambling. What does this DEI mean? And how are we going to get it for our? But I think in every instance that you gave and that I gave, I think we're both in agreement with one. It's self-managed, of course, but it's also, what can I learn from this? What is the lesson here for me, for my client, for whatever? We've got like 30 seconds. You want to take us out with a wisdom thought?
Oh, no, I think this is great. I think if it opened just a tiny bit of a door, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So on that note, as always, I love the conversations.
I do too.
Coming, and thank you for listening.
Yes, and I love bouncing it off you, and I love the courage that we both had to do this and be so honest about it. So I don't know what we're going to come up with next time, but we'll be sure to share it with you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.